Hello, this screencast is designed to walk you through the steps of the lesson plan on sources, interpretation, and translation. This lesson plan will include both social studies and world language goals. So the lesson is designed to be synchronous and asynchronous as you choose. Its purpose is to challenge students and or educators to employ both social studies and world language goals. The social studies goals will address the interpretation and analysis of primary and secondary sources, while the world language goals will address interpretive listening and presentational writing. This lesson will also walk students through the Franco-American Digital Archives as a repository for multiple links in which to search for and collect sources for interpretation analysis. There's a link here which will bring you to the Franco-American Digital Archives. So this slide just lists the various goals. I will not read them out loud. They are there for you to read. Again, these goals have to do with primary and secondary sources, as well as identifying main ideas, topics, and specific information in auditory, written, and gesture materials for world language. I have additional slideshows that unpack the two goals for each of the disciplines, both social studies and world language, and there are links here. There will be separate screencasts that will walk students and educators through those unpacked goals. There's also a sample lesson for interpretive listening and presentational writing as far as world languages are concerned. I have a French language source that will also be included as a link for this lesson. You were to pull a 2 or 3 paragraph sample from the source and pull out as many words as you already know. Again, I wrote a sample here of this is what a student would do with this particular source and trying to translate it as best as they can on their own. And then the Google translation attempt as well, so they have an opportunity to compare and contrast their two efforts. And then asking students, did you interpret and translate the central idea or theme of the passage? And after writing and citing the source, you determine the main idea. This is the next step into interpreting and analyzing this primary source. So again, here is your French language source. When you are interpreting a primary source, one method to use is called soapstone. And again, there's another slideshow here, which will also have a separate screencast to walk students through what we mean by soapstone and the steps you use to analyze a primary source. Next, when you soapstone the source, again, for this particular source, I have done it here as a model or an exemplar. Speaker, occasion, audience, purpose, subject, and tone. This is what soapstone stands for. Again, this is the link to the French language source that I use for this particular model. And again, in this particular model, here you have who the speaker is, when this particular source occurred or was produced, who the possible audience members were, their anticipated or expected audience for the work that's there, what their purpose was, what the subject was, and again, what the tone was as far as the interpretation of this particular historian. Next, you will be challenged to make independent attempts. Navigate through the Franco-American Digital Archive sources that are there. Find a sample of French writing, roughly 3 to 5 paragraphs long. Independently translate the writing, which was shown earlier on slides. Use Google Translate and or other tools to translate the writing, and then you make your comparison and contrast the difference between what you did independently and what you did with the tool to help you translate. And then you analyze the primary and secondary source, determining if it is primary or secondary, and again, then soapstoning it. Who was the speaker? What was the occasion? What was the target audience? What was the purpose of the source? And what was the subject, as well as what tone did you interpret or infer from the source as you analyzed it? Well, that's it for now. Good luck with your analysis and interpretation.